Also known as Runway, and you are watching the Inspiration by Loretta Show.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Inspiration by Loretta Show. I'm your host, of course, Loretta Green Warren, and I thank you for tuning in on today. Today I'll be talking to the author of this great book, Cursed by Our Blood. Alicia Moore is her name, also known as Runway. So we're going to talk about her book, we're going to talk about her life, her journey, and she's going to share her own personal brand of inspiration with us. So sit tight and relax, and we will be right back.
And now a spoken word piece by Runway.
The title of this poem is No Longer Broken. I wrote this poem shortly after publishing my novel, Cursed by Our Blood. We are born into this world as free as we can be. We can't stand, walk, or talk, but our mothers feel blessed that we can see. We look like slaves, heroes, and some of us look like our ancestry. My, oh my, what a shame when they say we must flee. I say, my ancestor was sold as a slave. It was his own tribe that tied him up and gave. To this day, it's the white man that we want to blame, but he did nothing but sit back and got rich off of our game. I am cursed, passed down by generations, and it hurts. They say, do as I say and not as I do. But if God chose you, then he must have only chosen a selected few. You can preach, teach, and pray, and if we sit there, you do it all day. Come on, pastors, who you trying to fool? You know you're out there like a garden tool. I say, the word is there for us to read for ourselves, but we sit there with our Bibles on our dusty shelves. Yes, pastors too are cursed. Most of what they say is rehearsed, and it's because of past generations, and that too can be researched. Ladies, 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 how can we expect a man who was never loved to be able to love us? Especially when hate oozes out of him like a sore, draining pus. He wants us as a good wife by his side. Meanwhile, everyone knows all about all the other women he goes in between with the tide. Your son looks like him, her son looks like him, and you mean to tell me no one has ever told him that they were brothers? Could it be because he has brainwashed you, verbally abused you, have you to that point where you can just care less about any of the others? I say, a woman should concentrate more on making sure that boy she gave birth to is love than trying to change a grown man she is sleeping with and praying for to our Lord above. But could it be because of your mother, her mother, and her mother that we just can't seem to get this thing right? Lord, if we don't break these cycles, we've already lost the fight. Papa, Granny, Daddy, Mommy, Uncle, Auntie, even Barney, have you touched us where you shouldn't, then walked around pretending that you didn't? I say, the torture was physically, emotionally, and mentally disturbing. You wonder why I sobbed? It's because I got robbed. I lost everything that I could have been. Now you have me living off of gin, and you wonder why I am cursed? It's because I blamed everyone except my next of kin. To this day, they don't even realize that it was a sin. But cursed cursed by past generations who did not repent is insane. Now we are praying and believing in God to break every chain. I am no longer cursed by my blood. Jesus, my Jesus, rained down on me, and I am now enjoying his flood. I am no longer cursed, no longer broken, no longer cursed, no longer broken.
Hey, this is James Williams. I play the character Marco on Pathways, and you're watching Inspiration by Loretta Show.
Alright, and we are back. I'm here with Miss Alicia Moore. Hi Alicia, welcome to the show.
Good morning, how are you doing today?
Great, I'm great. I thank you for being a guest on the show today and to share your own personal brand of inspiration with myself and the audience. The first thing that I would like to know is, this is a question that I ask everyone who comes on the show, and I think it's a very important question to kind of get people connected with you, who you are, and what you're about. So the question I want to ask you is, who is Alicia Moore?
Wow, who is Alicia Moore? I can tell you that she's someone that wears so many different hats, but she's the same way, regardless of which hat she's wearing.
Okay.
She's God-fearing. She has a love for people, a love for children, and she loves to express herself through words, and she's just always out there trying to make a difference.
Awesome, awesome. Sounds wonderful, wonderful. And that's the kind of person that we all should be, somebody who wants to make a difference and somebody who loves people in general. You know?
Yes.
So that's pretty awesome. Now, how did you, or when did you discover your passion for writing? Because anyway, we're going to talk about this book. What got you started in writing?
Well, to be honest, looking at it as a talent, I'm shocked that I wrote a book.
Really?
Because growing up, I always wondered, what is my talent? Because you're taught from a young age, I think from preschool and kindergarten, that everyone has a talent.
Right.
But I was always that child sitting back saying, I don't have a talent. Because when you can't sing, dance, play a musical instrument, you're not an artist, you often as a child wonder, well, what can I do?
Right.
And I never connected with really what was my passion. But I started to just be myself, and after years of high school, I started realizing that when I talk, people listen. But I still didn't know that I was a writer. But people would always tell me, you always have a story.
Right.
Regardless of the situation or the table talk, I had to talk. I always said, let me tell you something, let me tell you something.
Right.
And I always had a story. And when I would talk, people would listen. So it was one night, it was Thanksgiving night, actually, 2012. I sat down after the family had left my house for Thanksgiving dinner, and I went to start my book about Megan and Marky. Those are my two kids. I talk about them every day on Facebook, and I kept being told by everyone that I would come in contact with, or either on Facebook, you need to write a story about your two kids.
Right.
So I went, sat down that night and said I'm going to do it, because I shared so many stories during Thanksgiving dinner that day, and I was inspired by the whole family saying, that's a book right there, pointing to my kids.
Right.
But I sat down at the computer and God said, not so, not right now. I have something else for you to do. And cursed by our blood just poured out of me.
Really? How amazing is that? I mean, you set out to do one thing, but God turned it into something else.
Exactly.
That's
and
amazing.
I would also like to say that I said, look at God, because chapter 28, the last chapter in the book, was actually the first chapter that I wrote.
Really?
Yes.
Now, I read this book. I couldn't put it down. I read this book from cover to cover. This is quite a story.
Quite a story.
Quite a story. Now, I know that in your, you wrote in here that it's a fiction.
Yes.
You know, it's not anybody particular story, but it seems so real. You know, and reading it, it seems like, you know, this happened. It feels like this has happened somewhere to someone. I mean, the book really grips you guys. You have to read it for yourself. Let's pause for a minute and tell everybody where they can get this book right quick.
The book is available on Amazon.com, Cursed by Our Blood, and I use my pen name Runway. And you can also contact me directly, and I'll give you my email address, and I can actually send you an autographed copy.
Awesome, awesome. And we'll have that. We'll put that information on screen for you, so don't worry about it. We'll make sure that you have that. All right, so go ahead.
But I would like to share why readers feel that way. I have connected with readers all around the world, from Thailand to Ghana and Africa, and they all feel as though this story must be a true story. And the reason why readers connect in that way, because this family, this situation is all around the world.
Right.
The things that do happen in this book
Right.
happen everywhere.
Right.
Every family can read Cursed by Our Blood and connect to the characters,
Right.
because it is real. This book was based on a story that happened years ago, but if you look at the media in 2015, it's still happening.
Right.
And it's cycles that need to be broken.
Right, exactly. It definitely gets you to thinking, and it tugs at your heartstrings. Some of the things that happen in the book, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And you're reading, you're like, please don't do that. Please don't let this happen. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't, why? You know, and it takes you through so many emotions as you read the book.
And I signed all of my books that it will take you on an emotional roller coaster ride.
It does. It definitely does. People, you really Cursed by Our Blood. Pick it up on Amazon.com, and her Runway is her pen name. So you can look for Runway, or you can look for Cursed by Our Blood to get a copy of this book. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we'll have more with Miss Alicia Moore, also known as Runway.
Strip me naked, see into my soul.
Alright, so we are back. I'm still talking to Miss Alicia Moore, author of Cursed by Our Blood. And you see, I'm still holding on to this book.
Yeah,
it's a good read. It's definitely a good read, and that's why I really wanted to have you to come on the show to kind of, you know, talk a little bit more about the book and your experiences. So this story is. So how long did it take you to kind of to write this book, to chapter by chapter? Because there are 28 chapters in this book. As you can see, it's pretty thick book. How long did it take you to put this together?
It took me 3 months to write the first manuscript. Three months, and like I said, it was a story that I believe God crafted in me and wanted to be told. Because anyone could have written this story, because we all know about generational curses.
Right.
But I think he sought me out and he said, you know what? Here goes a speech-language pathologist, a great communicator, and that's what I need. I need someone who can communicate this message to the world. And I really saw it from step to step, because everything that I put in place, he changed.
Really?
Because even the cover, when I was designing the cover initially, I had a father and a mother with a son and a daughter holding hands. But then one night, lying in my bed, he showed me the picture of this cover. A narrow dirt road with pine trees on the side and a curve at the end. And I woke up the next morning and I knew why. I said to my husband, he said that the cover that he wants me to depict is the fact that no matter who we are on our Christian journey or whatever religion that we believe in, we all try to stay on that straight and narrow path. But regardless, we all will come to those curves and bends in our lives. But what's important is, are we able to straighten back up when we get there? And those pine trees on the side symbolizes our strength and the fact that we are rooted in a deep foundation. And the straws on the side is all that mess. In all of our lives, there's mess.
Right.
But what's important, he said, you don't have to go around those curves by yourself. Seek me out. And if you look on the side and you look very carefully, you see him standing right there, waiting to guide us all. But we sometimes don't seek him out.
Right, and that's where we falter. That's why I'm not seeking him.
So he was with me the whole journey.
Right. I want to talk about generational curses for a minute. You end up going through things in your life, and you're wondering, why is this happening to me? You know, what have I done to deserve this, or what have I done to cause these things to happen the way that they do in my life? And then you think back to the generation and then the generation before you, and all of the cycles. When we talk about generational curses, how do we go about breaking these cycles in our lives?
And that's a good question, because if you read the book,
Right.
so you see it, and that's what we don't realize, and I see it every day working with children, because so many of our characteristics, our personalities, and coming from DNA, hereditary, is because of who our parents was and their parents were. We see so many things, we're exposed to it, and actually things are done to us, we're put in these situations, and we start to believe it's the norm. How can, you know, we expect him to be a good husband when he doesn't know?
Right, he's never been taught.
He's never been taught. He's doing what he saw from uncles, and it's not just dads, from uncles and other family members. But at the same time, there's so many witnesses who can say cycles can be broken,
Right.
because it can happen. But we have to first realize and accept what has been done, and we have to want to change.
Right.
It's all about change.
Right.
Breaking cycles is about change. We see the things that happen in the media every day, right in our hometown. We must change.
Right. We gotta change. We gotta change.
And to change, that's why in the book I talk about a leader that we all have, because we are some church-going people.
Right.
Pastors. That's why I talk so much about Pastor Baker in this book.
Oh my God,
Pastor Baker's awful.
He's a mess.
He's a mess, but he's a leader. And change must start with our leaders as well.
Right.
It's not just the generational things. It's who motivates us, make the laws.
Right. Right.
The leaders aren't doing what leaders need to do.
Right. Now that you mentioned it, when we talk about the leaders in the book, there's a community of people, or a lot of people who know what's going on but choose to keep silent.
Right.
How does that affect the situation when people who know when things are being done wrong and they don't do anything about it?
Well, we've heard the old saying, sweep it under the rug. We like to sweep everything under the rug because we feel as though if it's not known, or if we sweep it under the rug, we don't have to deal with it. And sometimes that's soothing for right now, not dealing with it.
Right.
But I like to use the loaf of bread analogy. And when you look at a loaf of bread, and I can say this for myself, as a kid growing up, no one has ever told me that something was wrong with those two end pieces in the loaf. But as a child, and still to this day, when you open a loaf of bread, you reach over
I do
that end. And sometimes you skip the first 1 or 2 slices,
right.
and you reach for what's in between.
Right.
And you pull it out and you use it. But with each loaf of bread, you have a decision to make each time. When you're almost out, am I going to eat those ends or am I going to throw them away? And that's how I see the dynamics of what we're dealing with. Those two ends are the mess. It's the mess. And we'd rather reach over and forget about it or to deal with it. But it's still there. It's still there.
Right.
At the end of the day, I don't care if you throw it in the landfill. The mess is still there. And what happens? We start all over again with a new pack.
Right.
And there go the mess. We reach
the same cycle.
The same cycle. But what if we just use those ends and made bread pudding? Turn that mess into just change it up. Just change it up.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to take a break for our poetry segment, and we'll be right back.
An inspiration by Loretta production. If I had wings, would I fly? Or would fear keep me from the sky? Would I watch as my dreams float away? With both feet planted in the sand, would I stay? When the wind of courage blows beneath my wings, a song of faith will I sing. Will I believe the promise of the sky, that my destiny and my purpose is to fly? If I had wings, would the cool breeze of my vision cause me to soar, so that I will be grounded no more? If I had wings.
We're back. Thank you for tuning in. And make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that you're watching the Inspiration by Loretta Show. So I want to talk about the main. Who is the main character in this story?
Sylvia.
Okay, so Sylvia is the main character, and Sylvia goes through a great deal of things in this story. And even at the end, you know, when things seem to have turned around, here goes some more mess that she has to deal with. Tell me a little bit about Sylvia's journey.
Well, Sylvia is a very unique character, but there's a Sylvia in all of us, I hope. Sylvia is strong. Through all that she goes through, she remains strong. I mean, she, from a baby, she had to endure. In the middle. So, I mean, Sylvia in the beginning, middle, and the end, she always was in a situation that none of us would want to be in. But she kept the faith. Sylvia was a praying woman. Sylvia prayed. But what's unique about her, she wasn't selfish. Rarely was she ever praying for herself. She was praying for her family members. Even when her family members had done her wrong. She never turned her back on them. She was always there to help. But mostly, she prayed. And she prayed for them by name. a lot of that is lost. And that's why I say I hope that there's some Sophia in all of us. And that's what keeps a family together. A family that prays together, stays together.
That's amazing. I think it's amazing. So now, let's talk about you for a minute. Now, you said that you were a speech pathologist. You work with children. How did you get started with, or how did you discover your passion for wanting to work with children?
Okay. Well, first of all, I attended the University of South Carolina in Columbia. I'm a Gamecock. Go Gamecocks. And I was a biology major and wanted to be an occupational therapist. So I was walking around campus all the time, and everyone just said, you know, where's she going?
Right.
So then I became a member of Delta Sigma Theta, the sorority on campus, and when they assigned us or gave us line names, my big sisters thought the name that was most becoming for me would be Runway. And they said I walked around campus like I was on a runway.
Okay.
I went back home one summer and I just heard the dialect of my nieces and nephews. My little nephew, I said, would you go to, come on, let's go to the mailbox. And he's like, eat too hot? And I kept trying to correct them because I started to hear it because
Right.
I've been away now for 3 years.
Right.
So I came back home and I started hearing all these dialects. And then what I realized too, my first year at USC, no one listened to what I was saying. They listened to the way I talked. And they would always say, where are you from?
Right.
You from Charleston? Geechee, Gala, all these different things.
Right.
So they never listened for content. So I think in my mind, without really knowing, I started trying to perfect the way I talked or change it a little so I didn't use so much of it.
Right.
Because every time I opened my mouth, someone asked about
Where are you from?
my culture. I applied to the speech language pathology program there and got accepted.
Wow.
And I wanted to come back home, and that's what I did. I graduated. All of my friends, some of my sorors, they said, how can you go back to little old Hughie? But I said, because I want to make a difference.
Right.
I want to go and work with my children of my community.
Right.
And that's what I did because I said, I'm going and I'm going to stay.
Right.
And 14 years, I'm still there.
Wow.
I love doing what I do. I work with children of, all ages. And I just feel blessed actually evaluating a child and seeing where they are. And then years later, seeing the progress. Tremendous progress. And I somehow feel accomplished because I helped someone. I love my history, where I came from, what I do, and hopefully God will continue to do more.
He will. Definitely will. All right, so everybody, this is the book, Cursed by Our Blood. It's by Miss Alicia Moore. Runway is her pen name. You can pick up a copy of this book on Amazon.com. You can connect with Ms. Moore on Facebook.
Yes.
And we'll have her Facebook link on the screen so that you can contact her if you want to get an autographed copy of this book. She'll have a website coming soon, so stay on the lookout for that. If you connect with her on Facebook, you can kind of keep up to date with her projects that she has going on, and how you can maybe her next event, book signings and things like that. You can stay on top of that and connect with this lady because you definitely want to pick up a copy of this book. It tugs at the heart, it gets you thinking, but it is a great read. It definitely is, and I promise you are going to want more. So be sure to get a copy of this book, Cursed by Our Blood by Runway. Miss Alicia Moore here. All right, so Alicia, what can we expect from you in the future?
Definitely the sequel. It's just that I'm praying on that beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
Because just like this one, I want it to be what God wants. I would write late at night because I have 2 young kids and I work full time, and I have a husband who's just like another one of my big kids. So you know how mothers and wives are. We have a lot to do. I would write late at night before going to bed And I don't know how I was doing it, but I was amazed the next day when I would read it, because I really didn't know what I'd written until I read it the next day.
Right.
And then I start to realize, why are all these characters biblical names? If you notice, the only two characters that are not biblical names are Sylvia and Kaiser.
Yeah.
Paul, Joseph, Mary, John, Luke,
the
Mark,
kids, the children,
Mary.
Yeah.
It's so that in itself.
Why is that though? Why? Because I was thinking about that.
Well, it tells why in the book, but I want the readers to find
the
new readers to find out why.
You're gonna have. It's like how the story unfolds, especially when you find out why Kaiser is who he is,
and that's why I separated it. There's a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah.
So chapters 1 to 14 is part 1, and you need to know that. And that's what I think we need to know about people. When dealing with anyone, when someone's in a situation and they need counseling or all of that, I think people need to know that part 1 about them too.
Right.
What led up to part 2.
Exactly.
Because you have to get to know the foundation, the root. It's just like having a boil. If you don't get to the root, it's going to keep coming back. Or it's going to even spread the infection. So part 1 is the root of Cursed by Our Blood. And part 2, get a little softer and funnier. But the ride continue to get intense.
Yes, it is very intense. Very intense. So everybody, make sure, pick up a copy of this book. And you know the best thing that you can do? Get a friend to get a copy too, and you read it together. Yes. Because when you read this book, you need somebody to talk to about this thing.
One thing that I do, and it's great, book clubs.
Yes.
I love to attend book clubs and have a dialogue with the readers. So book clubs out there, get Cursed by Our Blood, and I would love to come and talk with the readers and get your dialogue.
When you read what Joseph does, you're going to throw the book on the floor. I'm telling you, parent, what's the best thing that we can do for our children when it comes to raising our children and trying to teach them the difference between right and wrong and things like that? What advice would you give that would be beneficial to parents watching? You know,
I would say that we must be the positive model. We have to model what we want them to. One message I want to leave with the audience: we don't have to be cursed by our blood. That's what I want the world to understand. We don't have to be cursed by our blood. We need to break these cycles. The cycles need to be broken since yesterday. But it's up to us to do it now.
The time is now, and the choice is yours. So, alright. So this is Cursed by Our Blood by Runway, Miss Alicia Moore. Make sure to pick up a copy, get connected with a book club, get a friend to get a copy, read it together. If you want to contact Alicia, you have questions about what you've read in this book, you can contact her on Facebook. We'll have the link on the screen for you. Amazon.com is where you can pick up the book. She'll have the website and all that coming soon. If you want her to come over for a reading, a book signing, or anything like that, contact her on Facebook.
And my personal email.
And that email also is listed on the screen. So make sure to get a pen, write it down. And Alicia, I so thank you for coming on the show one today and sharing your personal brand of inspiration.
And myself thank you for inviting me.
No problem, no problem. So everybody, again, Cursed by Our Blood, you gotta read it. I was truly moved and inspired by this book. This book has inspired me to want to read more. I definitely want to read more. I wish there was book 2 ready already, because I'd be reading it right now, but we're willing to wait for it. So she's going to be working on it.
I'm working on it.
She's working on it. So it's coming. It's coming. So stay tuned for that. So everybody, this has been this edition of the Inspirational by Loretta Show, and it is my prayer that something shared here today has inspired you. As always, I look forward to seeing you next time. If you have any questions for Miss Alicia, you can also contact me, and I can get a message to her. Go to our website, inspirationbyloretta.com, or you can email me at inspirationbyloretta@gmail.com. See you soon.
Thank you.